say one thing?
Lisa, I'll chime in.
Go ahead.
For me, like you, I'm relatively new to this conviction. I am. I mean, because I had actually stepped away from the church for a very long time. And it's only in the past 2 years that I have been um, reestablishing my relationship. And and I am very adamant about saving myself, right? However, there is always that sneaking thing in the back of my head, that sneaking thought, like what Davita was saying about that guy. Like, shouldn't I test the merchandise first before I do that? But what I have recognized is that when you're in truly a committed and loving relationship and that intimacy is there on a different level, the sex will work itself out.
Yes, it does.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And that is something that I have recognized. And like you, Lisa, I also have to have the cancer survivor conversation. And mine is so recent in that I'm still going through reconstruction. So anybody who comes into my life, they're going to have to know that, yes, though I no longer have cancer, I'm still going through the breast reconstruction. So that's another thing that but I'm in a breast cancer support group and I deal with the therapist. So I'm doing my due diligence on that end. But that's the other aspect of it. Like, you will probably be around when this reconstruction surgery is going on, right? Which means that more than likely I'm going to need your presence.
Right.
Like, from when I had the initial surgeries, I was down for the count for like 3 months because those surgeries were very intense, so I'm still going through that. So this is, but I'm not afraid to have that conversation. There've been a couple of guys that I've spoken to and I've brought it up, and they weren't rude or nasty or condescending about it. They were like, I respect that you feel that way,
Right.
but this is not how I feel.
Sure.
And that's the end of it.
Sure.
There's nothing I can do about it at that point, and I'm not going to force it on somebody, and I'm not going to force myself to compromise what I believe, right? I'm coming back to my Christian faith after having stepped away from it for a very long period of time. And that's a big part of my value system, and I don't want to step away from that again.
Right. This one gentleman that I know, very dear to my heart, actually told me this. And like, okay, so I have a big family. There's a such thing called the man code, you guys, don't get on me, JL. But my daddy and my brothers told me the man code because we have 8 girls. Okay. And I have 4 brothers. Okay. So they're always looking out for us girls. And what he said to me is about a man, what he will do. If he wants you, he will be nice to you. Like, say if that is your standard, that you don't want to be intimate off the break and you're waiting, he will say, okay. And he will go and be with other women and he will just be nice to you and just nice to you all the time, because eventually you're going to give in. And they actually believe that. And
yeah, they think they can break through your defenses because they think
but they do. That's the thing. They do. They used to, for me, but that doesn't happen. And so because you don't want to set yourself up. I mean, it's something that JL said earlier about some people feel like, okay, we have to decide, okay, we might just kiss or whatever, but we're not going to take our clothes off. And that's a setup, because one thing about being attracted to someone and putting yourself in that situation where they're coming over and being alone and stuff, who's the one who's going to put the brakes on it? I'm not. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not. So because I'm a human being and I have feelings and stuff too, and I'm still a woman. So why even put yourself in that situation? So I say that because women, if you have decided that this is what you are very adamant about, that you want to wait until you are, if it's not celibate to marriage, some people just say until I'm engaged or whatever. Don't set yourself up and put yourself in a position to go against what you have given, because all you have is your word. You know, once you decide, you tell a guy, no, these are the breaks, this is what I'm going to do. And then you push past it a little bit. I think it's a man's nature to just see if I can get her to go just a little bit further this time, if I can get her to go a little bit, because I think generally that they are more physical than we are. And that's how they like to express their affection and liking. That's not love, but just liking somebody more so than we are. And so if you know that, don't put yourself in a position to go against that. And if, you know, it's great that you had that experience, Lori, where the gentleman was like, hey, it's not for me. That's all. It's an adult conversation, you know, but sometimes we run into people that aren't very mature and they say, oh yeah, I'm with it too, you know, and they're not sleeping with you, but they're sleeping with somebody else on the side and going to church with you and doing all this. I'm telling you, people are crafty. That happened to me, you know. I'm telling you, wouldn't believe.
Well, and yeah, and I agree with you as far as like not putting yourself in that situation. And I guess that's the thing that when I think about it, when you talk about being equally yoked, you know, having somebody who believes the same way that you believe, but that would be part of it too, is that they also believe that they are not wanting to have sex with anyone until they're married. And I don't, you know, I know for some guys it may be them being crafty and figure, oh, well, if I can get her to agree with it, to a kiss, then maybe I can get her to agree to something else and then something else and then something else. But like you said, like I'm human too, you know, I'm a healthy adult female, like just like they are. And so if you put yourself in that situation, that's just naturally what's going to occur. I mean, you know, my pastor always says, don't light a fire where it's not appropriate for there to be one. And so that's what I think of it as, is, you know, just not putting ourselves in that situation. Not necessarily that he's trying to be crafty, but just he's a human man. So I would want that agreement from both of us that that's what we expect in this relationship. But of course, that means he's not, you know, saying that to me and then going and sleeping with someone else. We'd have to be on the same page. And that makes sense. I honestly expect the cancer conversation to be easier than the celibacy conversation. That usually goes over easier as I have cancer.
Yeah.
It is, Lisa. It is easier.
I kind of have a different view on that whole.
No, guys, look, I've said this before, I'll say it again, but I'm gonna say it in a different way since y'all want to bring up cars. Okay, so if you tell a guy who's really into cars and you basically are saying, look, man, you can come and you can look at this Ferrari every single day. Okay, and if you want to buy this Ferrari, all it's going to cost you is $100. You know, you hang out with this Ferrari, you look at this Ferrari, you know, you cannot drive this Ferrari, but in, you know, a year, it'll cost you $100 and then it's yours. Okay, you're not going to find too many guys who love cars. If it's brand new Ferrari, okay, they're not going to take that. You know, if they're car guys, they don't have to test drive it. It's a Ferrari. At the end of the day, it's a Ferrari. Okay, and it's brand spanking new coming off the lot, and all he has to do is commit to say, this is going to be the only car I'm gonna drive for the rest of my life. Okay, he's gonna get that doggone Ferrari. He's not gonna handle that Ferrari. Okay, and that's kind of what I'm saying. If you look at guys, I don't care what kind of woman he is into, whether it is Jennifer Aniston or Beyonce. Okay, if he thinks that woman is all of that in a bag of chips, and she's like, oh, okay, you know, well, you gotta wait to drive these goodies. Don't wait. But it's about the level of interest he has in you. You know, and I think that that's one of those things, especially when we talk about Enneagram, is about finding that perfect person and also not wasting your time with people that really, because I'll tell you another trick that guys do. And there's a young lady that I was talking to the other day, and I was telling her about it. I said, one of the tricks that a lot of guys do is what they do is many men forget it. You know, we talked about this before. A lot of men are insecure. Okay, so women need to give up on this thing that all men are so courageous, and when he sees you across the room, he wants to walk over to you and be like, "Hey, how you doing? You know, my name's JL. Can I get your number?" You know, most guys do not have that. They do not have that energy. You know, they don't have that confidence. One of the tricks that some guys do is that they will find a beautiful woman, but they'll find a beautiful woman that is not their type. Okay, does that make sense? Everybody has a type. Okay, you know, no matter what guys say, they all have a type. There was a guy on here before. He shows up, you know, every once in a while I'm gonna pick on him a little bit. You know, he was just talking about he likes Asian girls. You know, I think that's a very easy type for us to understand. So if all of a sudden he decides, okay, well, I'm going to talk to a black girl, I'm gonna talk to a white girl, I'm gonna talk to a Latino girl, that girl might be drop dead gorgeous, but she's not an Asian girl. You see what I'm saying?
That's immature, don't you think?
Well, not necessarily. What it is insecurity. You know, it's not immaturity, it's insecurity.
The
See,
rejection factor might
Yeah.
not be great though for
not wanting to be rejected by what you really want.
Basically. And so he's just picked this other woman. So now this other woman, like I said, she could be beautiful, but she's not his beautiful. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's why I'm bringing that up, because, you know, I don't want, you know, anybody to be thinking, oh, well, if the guy's not waiting, you know, then I'm not worth anything. No, because some guys do that trick, you know, and they've kind of picked you because they're comfortable. It's very few guys, like I say, that have that true 100% confidence and just walk over to a woman who is his 100% his style, and just it is very difficult. That's why, you know, one thing that I encourage women to do is have grace on men who look like they're just a little nervous. That generally means he likes you. But if there is a connection, a true connection, and he feels it and you feel it, and he's really attracted to you, and then you're like, you know what, I just don't want to have sex until I'm married. We can figure out, you know, we can kiss every blue moon, we can do whatever, but I'm just not going to do that. And he's really, really feeling you. I truly believe that he'll wait.
That's true. I agree with that.
I agree with that.
I do. Some people just lazy. They like low hanging fruit.
Hmm. And there's so much of that here in Atlanta too.
They just like low hanging, something that's easy.
That fruit is on the ground, Davida. It's not even
Yes.
low hanging. It's on the ground. You just go pick
That's
it
what
up.
it is. They want something easy and convenient.
I personally don't think that celibacy talk needs to happen in the first 90 days. I have a different view on it. And I've heard a lot of different dating man specialists talk about that, because I think that in those first 90 days, you are getting to know each other. And how does this man even know that you're even worth sticking around for waiting for that? It's a little too soon, because, for example, let's turn it around. Say the guy says, hey, I'm not going to have sex until I, you know, am married. Well, there's no investment there. You don't know anything about him. You don't even know if he's worth a second, third, fourth date. You don't know anything about him. So I believe that can naturally unfold. For example, if on the fourth date, he tries to make a move on you, that's a good time to set a boundary and say, you know, I don't know you well enough. I do find you attractive, but I don't know you well enough to be physically involved yet. And then he's like, oh, okay. So you get to know each other, because he might not even know, and you might even not even know if I even want to stick around to even hold your hand.
Right.
So I think that puts a lot of people off too fast, too soon. That's my opinion. Because if someone told me, look, here's a hardcore boundary right now, and it's like, wow, gosh, I don't even know if I like you, you know? And like you got to know, Davida, you got to know that guy, even just in a phone conversation, it was like, this guy isn't even going to get the opportunity to hold my hand because you
Mm-mm.
didn't like how abrupt he was. So I think it can naturally unfold. Me personally, I would not say, look, I'm waiting till marriage till, get physically intimate. I think that can unfold. And I think that it's better if you let the guy get to know how wonderful and awesome and fun and, you are, get him to really like you and possibly fall for with you. And then he might go, well, damn, she's worth it. I'm going to hang around for a little bit and see if she's, worth it for me to wait or not. But in the beginning, if you said that, he doesn't know how awesome you are and what he's going to miss out on. That's just my
Yeah,
take.
I think that's what Lisa, what we were saying. It's like it's a naturally occurring. It comes up naturally. It's not something that you just go into it saying. It'll come up when they, if you like them or not, and they try for the kiss. It's either going to be like you're going to respond, or you're going to be like, So
yeah. So I wouldn't even use in dating. I wouldn't even use the word until I got more serious, like maybe past the 3 months. That's just
That's a good point, Jacqueline. Because it is. I often find with both. I mean, the celibacy conversation I haven't had to have yet, but the cancer conversation, it is. There's like this point that you get to that it's like, okay, it feels like I should say it now. And it's always different with everybody, because everybody's different and your closeness with somebody, sometimes it might be within 2 weeks, sometimes it might be 2 months. Yeah. But then there's this point that you move past where it starts to feel like, okay, now I feel like I'm being dishonest and I'm hiding something. Yeah, because I may have an oncology appointment and they're like, oh, well, how was your day? And I don't mention it.
So why disclose your medical history to someone that you might not see in 3 to 6 months? You might not be around. And JL, on the Ferrari analogy, well, my take on that is a Ferrari dealership isn't just going to let anyone test drive that car, even if you like it and you might be interested. You cannot just walk up to a Porsche dealership or a Ferrari dealership or a Lamborghini dealership and say, oh, I'd like to test drive that car. They are going to either say, yeah, hold on, buddy. I got to check your credit score. I got to check who you are first. And I don't even think they even allow most people to just get in a Ferrari or Lamborghini and test drive it. So there you go. I mean, you could test drive a Honda all day long or a Pinto, but not a Lamborghini and a Ferrari. They just don't let anyone just come up and test drive those types of car. And it's the same way in dating.
Well, no, I was going to say, I agree 100%, but it's also, like I say, and this is the only thing I'll say about the whole, and that's kind of why I was saying the second phase. And the second phase can be anything, like I say, between 2 weeks and 3 months or however you feel comfortable. But one thing I will tell you, and like I said, maybe it's different places around the world that work different ways. And maybe it's because I'm in Atlanta, because, most of us are here in Atlanta. But, I've been on dates with women, and the first night they're trying to drag me into their bedroom.
They're trying to what? Oh, drag it.
And I'm the one saying, no, I'm good. I'm good. I don't know you like that, and they will tell me, third, fourth conversation. So how are you? Because they're trying to poke around and find out, what they can do. A lot of people, they will start having sex within a month.
Oh, yeah.
And that's very common, especially the older you become. That's why I try to be realistic with it and not try to be judgmental, because, people will say whatever they want to say. And then, like I said, they're hanging out with the guy, they like the guy, or like the woman, or whatever it is. And whether it's them hanging around in the house, whether they're in the car, whether they're I don't give a flip where they are. People are very creative about, when they really want something. And it might not be that long. So I think that you have to figure it out for yourself. That's why I don't like giving hard, concrete things, because I do like the flexibility of kind of like what you're saying, Jacqueline. So if you're more old fashioned and you're saying, hey, I want to hang around with you around and really get to know you, before we have those types of conversations, I think that's great. But I know when I'm talking to women generally in their 30s, that is a conversation I have to have very quickly.
Wow.
Okay, because they are very used to having sex. Some of them have changed it around and now they are celibate, so they want to let me know very quickly because of the type of guys that they've dealt with before. And it comes up real quick. Generally not in the first 1 or 2 conversations, but I would probably say by the 4th or 5th, that conversation has come up almost every single time.
I guess I haven't dated in a while.
I would say it's also a difference in the age group. That's why I say every group is different. Like I'm right at the end of Gen X. You know, I'm not a deep Gen X person. In fact, I was supposed to be Gen Y when there was a Gen Y before they decided Gen Ys were going to be the millennials. And the millennials do act a lot different than Gen X. Because like I said, I'm right on that borderline, so I get some of the stuff that they do. But I've had to learn a lot, you know, about the Gen Xers in order just to date them. And
People in their 30s right now, Gen Xers?
well, I'm sorry, Gen Y, millennials.
Oh, millennials.
Millennials, sorry, my fault. But yeah, because the millennials are going to be mid-20s, early to mid-20s, all the way up through, I think now 38 or 39.
Yeah, millennials. Okay.
That's the millennial group. And so these people are a lot more phone friendly. In fact, I think one of the first conversations we had actually online was, I think a lady, no, it wasn't here. It was actually in another group that I had that I was a part of. And there was a lady there that was in her 50s and she was trying to figure out what happened because she was on the phone talking to this guy, had been texting him back and forth, and they had phone conversations, had a couple of dates. And she was like, and I've texted him and he won't text back. And it's been 3 days.
No.
It's not texting me back. And so all of us had to say, baby, he's ghosty.
Yeah.
Telling you he doesn't want you. So now forget about him. He's saying it's over. And but you know, she was just distraught. You know, what kind of person does that?
Yeah.
And he was a younger guy. She was dating a younger guy. And I found the same thing with the millennials. You know, for me, I have to rethink in the way that they think. Because like one of the young ladies, she was trying to put me on TikTok. She was like, come on, let's make a TikTok. And I'm like, I don't know you like that. I don't know to be in a video with you right now that you're gonna blast all over social media.
Right.
So, you know, but see, they're quick to do that kind of stuff. Everything is, let's do it, let's throw it out here. And I'm like, I don't want that because if we break up or something like that, then it's gonna look weird for you. Then you got video of me, you know, no, I'm not really ready for that, boo.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but it's like that, those are the types of things that you have to deal with. But anyway, I'm starting to get slightly off topic, but I think the main point is, you know, I just think it's just whatever group you're used to. And I think you know, we all kind of know our group. And if we don't, then after dating them once or twice, which I encourage everybody to date, and now Kenneth can't beat me up anymore. She's being quiet today, so maybe she's in a loud environment. Can't beat me up anymore about dating 1 or 2 or 3 people at the same time, because that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying at the very beginning, at stage 1, if you want to talk to 2 people, you can. But once you get to stage 2, you should be locked in.
Right.
So at this point, for all of our new people, we have a fun transition that happens. Okay, technically we are done for the day. So if you're new and you just want to go home and stop talking and you're good and you got enough, bye, Coquila, then now is the time to say goodbye, farewell, Avida, say
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
See you guys next time.
Yeah.
See you, Jacqueline. Bye-bye.
For all the knowledge and information, I learned a lot today. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. But if you want to stay on, you can stay on and talk and just have a conversation amongst yourselves about anything. If you want to learn more about the Enneagram or talk about anything that we've done before, or just any generalized questions, you know, we can do that now. And, you know, people can just kind of hang out, even if I have to go, because I will have to go a little early today. I can pass the leadership to somebody else that's willing to stay on the line, and you guys can just talk into your board.
Yeah, I have to go. I've got a meeting, but thank you guys. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I'll say something while we're still here, just in the spirit of participating. I'm usually kind of quiet and just kind of listen. And actually, I'm divorced, going on 4 years now. And I will make a comment about the celibacy thing. I did try dating this one guy for a very short time. And when we got to that part, he just pretty much told me, yeah, you're going to have some problems. And he just kind of shut me down, so I haven't even really been trying to date a whole lot lately. So this is all good for me, good education. So I'm just learning. So
Yeah.
it's really good.
Well, I celebrate you because I've never been married. So I know that it is a challenge. My sister was married for 20 years and then suddenly her husband passed away when she was only 41. They were married since she was 20. So she has some trouble with that. And I can imagine, especially if you're used to sleeping with someone all the time and it just being there, and then you have, your value system and you're like, well, I'm just accustomed to having someone, it can pose a little bit of a challenge. But I mean, for me, I've never been married. I've been in long-term relationships. But the thing is, I have 2 children, and I'll just put it out there. I have a 23-year-old and a 7-year-old. So for a long span of time, I was celibate, like in between, because I was waiting, on the one. And then I met this person who was a representative and got pregnant during that time again. So now here it is now. I'm like, okay, for me, I'm just going to wait until like I'm walking down the aisle and we have a honeymoon, because I have experienced how people will tell you anything and just, play this role. I'm speaking from experience. I don't think that all guys are like that, but this is something that happened to me. So that's why I have made the decision that I have. And God has, like I said, graced me with the ability to do it. Sometimes the Bible says, like, if you burn, bye. If you're burning, it's better to marry. If you feel like you have this desire in you that you cannot quench, it's better for you to marry. So far, I've been okay. So, and I can't say it is just me. It's not in my strength. It's not something that I could do on my own, because I'm a human being. I like sex just like the next person. It's not something you're going to be able to pull off, especially if you see candy and you like candy. So I know what flavor candy I like. So it's definitely doable. But I could tell you this, because I don't want to beat anybody's head up about it. I think that energy, right? So I found other ways, just to exercise more. I mean, it's just all different things to keep my mind and body. I care for my children. I have pets, it's other things until I receive what I believe God promised to me. I have to do my part. And I'm telling you, it's been the best experience ever. Do I still know? Sometimes you might go through a period, women, where we feel like we're just unattractive, because there's nobody. But let me tell you, it was confirmed to me. People do still try to say hello, or they even compliment you, and say you look really nice today. So, it's not that you're unattractive, and then you have to look deeper and say, am I attractive because I'm being physically intimate with someone? Like, you can still be a beautiful sexual being without being physical, if you could get what I'm saying. So it's been good. As far as, the first 90 days in a relationship, I'm first of all, I'm glad that you had this today, Jay. I missed you guys because I haven't been here in like 2 weeks. But I felt like I had to get in on this because I haven't gotten to the 90-day period.
It's hard.
I have not. No, 90 days. Because I think if you ask the questions, not necessarily in a like a way like you're interrogating somebody, but if you have a game plan and you ask the question, you usually weed these people out before that 90 days. Part two, the guy that I met from the online dating, I told you there was about 4 different things about him that made me say, this is not going to go anywhere. I wasn't physically attracted to him. I think that you should be. Number 2 was I didn't like the way he talked about his ex-wife all of the time. That really annoyed me, because if the relationship is over, you don't have to put that person down. And I just always think about, if you'll do that to her, you'll do that to me. And then the third thing was he was not for being celibate before marriage, because he had been for 20 years. And he was just like, I'm not doing that. I'm used to having sex. And then the fourth thing was, within a 2-week period of just talking to this person online, he fell very, very easily into the role of husband and wife. And he would text me stuff like, I'm home, you know, and expect me to call him right then. Or if he called me, it was too fast for me. And I think that because he was accustomed to being married, that he automatically put me in this role. And I was like, and then when I didn't answer the phone, and I finally did answer the phone, I think it was like a day later, he's like, are you ghosting me? And I was like, well, you have to be in a relationship to ghost someone. We just met. Like, we just met. So give it some time.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Give it some time. But I mean, how long had he been divorced?
Oh, that's number 5. He's not divorced.
Oh,
He's been separated for 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
And he hasn't even gotten a date. And that's the funny thing, because during that first conversation, that 3-hour conversation, you never once mentioned that. That comes up later when I start to probe and ask the questions that I feel. It's like, well, I'm just waiting on my papers. Wait a minute, what? You're not even divorced yet. I said, you need time to be by yourself before you enter into a relationship with anyone, because anybody that's married for 20 years, you are a different person after you come out of that. And you need to know who you are before you go trying to meet someone else.
Well, I agree.
So he's not divorced yet.
Yeah, I forgot. You know, we talked about that thing once or twice, but yeah, that's something that all women need, especially need to be looking for. I've only run into one woman since I've been out here that didn't have her quote unquote walking papers. That's what they call it, walking papers.
Yeah, your walking paper.
So you ain't got the walking papers, you can't be out here dating. Because, you know, and here's what was really funny. I had one young lady, well, no, I actually had 2 young ladies that was like this. And one young lady, she got mad at me. She was, and she was actually a pastor. She was becoming a pastor. And I'm not going to say her name or anything, but, you know, she was becoming a pastor. And I told her, I said, you know, you're separated. So I was like, divorce is already bad enough in the eyes of God, but you are separated. You
Right.
are not fully divorced. And I was like, we can be friends, but I was like, we can't date or anything until you're fully separated, you're divorced. And she was like, well, you know, she was telling me all the problems that she was having with her ex and trying to get the paperwork done. And she was like, well, you know, that could be a whole nother 1.5 years. And I was like, well, then you just have to wait 1.5 years.
Right. Trust the process.
yeah.
Yeah, and she got mad at me and all this other kind of stuff. And but at the end of the day, I was like, look, it's already, like I say, it's already bad enough, you know, for me to be like, you know, I already got to come to God, you know, on Judgment Day and basically
That's
like,
right.
I had a divorce. And he gonna be like, okay, now explain.
That's right.
You know, I already
And
got,
people don't think about that.
you know, I don't want to sit there and have to deal with well, you knew this young lady you were talking to was separated. So you were doing like a triple adultery.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, and that's real. People don't think about that. You do have to answer for it. Like even me not being married and then wanting to marry someone who has been divorced, that's not something you take on lightly. And that person's spouse is still walking around this earth. And I know what the Bible says. So
It's like I mean, you know, the Bible basically says you have to make an account.
that's right.
Okay, for all your, you know, your misdeeds on this earth. And Jesus, you know, he'll forgive us. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we don't want to be legalistic. You know, we want to understand that we have grace, but at the same time, you know, you don't want to push grace. You know, you don't
Right.
push the grace that you have. All right, Tanya, we'll see you later.
Bye, Tanya.
So, you know, that's my big thing. But I definitely think, believe it or not, I actually wrote it down. I don't know if you can see that. I was thinking about that might be a good topic. Dealing with exes. You know,
Oh,
how people have their ex, because to me that is a red flag, just like you said, Davida, is that if you're dealing with a guy and he's talking bad about the person that he's with, that's a red flag.
yeah.
If he's continuously talking about his ex, period, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether good
Yeah.
or bad. Because if it's good, then I'm gonna need you to go back and see if you can work that
That's
out.
right. That's right. Yeah, I mean,
if
and it's one
bad,
thing.
how would you talk about me? You know, that's not, why would you do that? Just don't
And
talk about it at all.
it's one thing to, like, when you're getting to know somebody and you tell them what the situation was and bring up some of the conversation. I mean, Jay, you do that sometimes when you tell us, because you're trying to relate to us your feelings or your observations based off of your experience. That's one thing. But when every other conversation and we're talking about something and it reminds you of something your ex did, that's strange, and that shouldn't be taking place if you're trying to move forward.
No, and I agree.
Then you still paying her bills and she's still bothering you, and you know, all of that. I'm like, you know, I don't do that. I have 2 children. I have 2 children's fathers, and you will never hear me talking about either one of them because they are not part of my life. They're part of their children's life, you know? So you have to make that, that's the uniqueness of where we are. We have broken relationships. We have children outside of our future relationships, you know, for some of us. And so you have to make decisions about how you're going to handle it prior to entering that relationship with the next person. You have to be whole and know. I would never want, like I said, I don't have an ex-husband, but I do have children's fathers. And so I would never want a man that I'm entering a relationship with, because of course, when men look at women with children, they want to know, where's the baby father? Off the break. They want to know what the relationship is,
right.
You know? And so I make it a point, I cut that off. Now it wouldn't do me any harm. I'll be honest with y'all. It wouldn't. My little son's father is single. It would do me no harm for him to come over here, be with his son, and for holidays and stuff like that, invite him here. But I have to draw a line, because the man that I am going to be with is going to question that, you know? So I do that. I draw the line before that even comes up, because I don't want him to be like, oh, he was just here last, weekend or whatever, and he's just here all the time. No, it has to be some boundaries set.